so close to being hurt so many times in the safari. You miss a tree by a millimetre, or you just get over a big water rut by centimetres, and you sort of think that's close, but you got to use that adrenaline to keep pushing.
When you're in the zone and you're doing well, then the results are coming. There's no better feeling, really. That's pretty much what I live for.
In 2009, two young brothers from Condobolin in New South Wales conquered one of the most gruelling desert races in the world, the Australasian Safari, with a first and second podium finish. But this love of riding fast started long ago. Safari brothers, Todd and Jacob Smith.
I had trucks years ago, and there was an old motorbike down in the yard, and because Todd was sort of getting about that age where he could enjoy bikes, and Todd got on the Pee-wee and started riding around the house. We were one of the first houses in this little subdivision up here.
As soon as I got home from school, I'd jump on my Pee-wee and just ride around the back of my house, and had a little track there, and used to ride it and ride it and ride it till it stopped, and then Dad fixed it and keep riding it. He went through a few fences and whatever out here and caused a bit of grief in the neighbourhood, but someone suggested that we take him to the bike track, and that's how it started, yeah. I first started racing when I was 7, Pee-wee class, Condo motocross track. I think it was dirt track back then, and sort of progressed through the club a little bit for a year or so, and then I went from a Pee-wee 50 to a DS80, and then Dad finally got me a KX60, and I remember went down to Sydney and bought it from a motorbike shop down there, and I remember looking out the back window of the car all the way home, couldn't wait to ride it. Jacob was actually riding his Pee-wee in races at 3.5 years old.
The very first memory I have is in the backyard, pretty much, and Dad holding on to the back mudguard, and I'm riding around on the Pee-wee, and I was pretty little. I think I was only like 2.5 or 3 or something like that.
I've seen a few of my mates that I used to race with, watching Jacob on his Pee-wee. He was doing little power slides around the corners, and he was only 3 years old. It's pretty amazing to see.
The helmets are, just about too heavy for their necks. They hit a bump and their head drops, and yeah.
Because everything was second-hand. They had gumboots for a start. And,
oh, yeah.
And second-hand armour.
It was all hand-me-down stuff, wasn't it?
Hand-me-down stuff till I got started.
It used to be so much fun when we were young. We used to hop in the car on a Friday afternoon after Mum and Dad finished work and go away and race for the weekend, and then drive home in the middle of the night and back to school and back to work. And it used to be so good. We just all just get away and see different parts of Australia together. Like, we saw so much of the country just travelling around racing. One of the deals when the boys were younger, they had to get to school the next day. I had to go to work on a Monday morning, so they had to go to school. So we'd finish racing at Brisbane or Adelaide or whatever, and she'd be in the car and straight through overnight, and they'd have to get up and try and get as much sleep as they could in the car, and they'd go to school next morning, and we'd go to work. Yeah, it used to be pretty hard, but it was great because we were doing it all together. It was doing it as a family.
The girls came.
Yeah, the girls were with us all the time, and it was great. Yeah.
Mum and Dad have sacrificed so much for Todd and I. Like, ever since we were kids, you don't realise until now where I pay for it myself, and you don't appreciate it as much when you're a kid because you just got no idea. But the sacrifices Mum and Dad made, to get us to the races and to do what we love to do is massive, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to repay, what they've done for us.
Yeah, it was something we didn't encourage either way. If they wanted to go and do that sort of thing,
like if they'd have said, I don't want to ride anymore, would have been fine.
Yeah, it wouldn't worry. It would have been good actually. would have been good financially anyway, that's for sure. I kicked about with guys like Casey Stoner and sort of raced with him a lot of my junior career while I was flat tracking. Run second to him a lot of times though, but I think he dragged me along a bit. Sort of always run second to him and always striving to go that one better.
Well, I never really did that good when I was younger. I was always just loved riding my bike, and the first time I remember getting third in this state titles, I slept with my trophy the whole way home. I was so pumped.
One of the funniest ones, most embarrassing for Todd once, was we were at Oakdale in Sydney it was, and it was a really wet meeting, and I think I was winning my heat at the time, and it was one of the muddiest races I've ever been to, and I crashed. I just slipped off the bike and a heap of mud got stuck to my pants, and then when I got back up they sort of fell down around my knees and I couldn't sit down for the whole race. And he kept going right to the end. I'll never forget it, with coming across the line with a bare ass. It was quite funny.
But he never stopped.
Yeah,
he just wasn't going to stop for anything.
The Australian Safari, it's a navigational race which is run in Western Australia at the moment, and it's total around about 5,000 to 6,000 k's depending on the year and what tracks they have marked.
You go from the coast where you can see the beach to being in outback Australia where you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere in one day, and then you get up and you're in like a sort of a mining type town, and then 2 hours later you're in the middle of the desert. There's sand dunes and just nothing out there. Saying that, you don't get much time to look at it either. Like, you're not riding down the roads looking around and going, oh geez, the scenery looks good. On safari, I think one of the biggest days we've done was about 900 Ks in a day, and I think about 600 or 700 of that was racing. On average, you probably spend 7 or 8 hours a day on the bike, and you got to keep doing that for 7 days.
It's so hard just to keep yourself motivated to go fast. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere and you're hungry and you're tired and everything hurts, but you still got to push on to go fast. And it's a big mental race. You got to sort of tell yourself that that doesn't hurt and that you're doing all right.
It's probably one of the toughest races that I've done mentally. It's just draining. You're out of bed at 4:30 in the morning. You don't go to bed till 9 o'clock. Your brain doesn't stop while you sleep, and you know, you always constantly got to be concentrating on what you're doing and reading your map, and then you got to try and ride your bike fast. So I think it's that aspect of the race that draws you to it as well.
To Dakar, it's a lot different terrain. I think the pace is probably as quick or quicker than Dakar.
A lot of the top guys that have came out and raced it, they get beat every time they come out here. It's a lot different too. Like, if we went over there, it'd be a lot harder. But as far as the terrain and the navigation and everything like that, it's up there. It's got a pretty big reputation.
This year there's supposed to be a fast guy coming in from Brazil that sort of was in the top 10 in Dakar last year, so it'd be good to see what he has to offer.
They're both very good navigators, which is, it surprises me because anyone can ride a bike fast. There's lots of guys who can ride a bike fast, but to ride a bike fast and read a map and navigate, it amazes me that these guys can do that at that pace. They must have got that from their mother, I think.
Yeah.
We get our maps the night before. They're like a written scroll, and they do kilometres, like accumulative kilometres. They give you instructions as well, like turn left at crossroads, or caution, hold on in left wheel track. And you have a trip meter as well. So you zero your trip meter at the start, and then you got to keep calibrating. Because your front wheel is always coming off the ground and stuff like that, it's hard for it to stay calibrated. So you get to a gate or something that you know you're definitely on the right place, then you recalibrate it to what your map is.
Last year I made a mistake of, I took a call that was 20 metres, the road was 20 metres before the road I was supposed to be on, and I was in a hot situation when I was racing someone and I was making good time. And I just, I took that road, and then the next 3 or 4 calls all checked out on that road, and I ended up out in the main road out of the paddocks and didn't know where I was supposed to be. I lost 15 minutes.
On safari, sometimes you're going down roads that are just wide enough to fit a 4-wheel drive in, and you might start that stage at 7:30 in the morning, the sun's just coming through, there's dust, there's animals, and you're doing 170 kilometres an hour. It's a little bit scary.
I definitely get scared a lot of times on the bike. Like, you go so close to a tree, you think, geez, I'm going to crash there, but you can't really think about that. You just got to put it out of your head, and just it's sort of easy in safari because you're reading your map, and that's your main focus. So if you're not focusing on your map, you haven't got your mind on the job, sort of thing. So it's easy to get your mind past things like, oh, I nearly crashed there, that could have killed me.
Oh, I shit myself like twice a day on safari. If you don't have a moment once a day, then you're not going hard enough. So it's only for a split second. Something will happen and you go, well, that was pretty close. But, get back to the job and get back on what you're doing. You forget about it.
If you think about how close you went to everything, you wouldn't ride it.